want to start first with a story. I sat on the boat making the 2-hour journey from our campground at Raroa Beach to Waihī Beach, the northernmost point below the North Cape and the starting point for our swim down the entire East Cape of the North Island of New Zealand. We made it off the shore. I chucked a few things into the inflatable rescue boat, the IRB, alongside, and was shuttled to the empty shore that lay ahead. Soon enough, others started arriving from land, having made a 2-hour adventure of their own across a precarious and muddy track. There we stood in a circle under the blazing sun, swimmer, iwi, supporters, and family. Some words were shared and a karakia was given. And with that, the ceremony was over. All of the thinking, the planning, the talking about what was to come was done. It was time to go. I was coated head to toe in this thick zinc sunscreen all over my pale white skin, as pale as the sand beneath my toes. I put my cap and my goggles on and I walked to the edge of the ocean. I knelt down and I scooped up a handful of sand and I let it slip through my fingers in this final moment of contemplation. With that, the swim was to begin. The hooter sounded and I walked into the surf before me. I swam through the breakers, eventually turning parallel and south down the coast. And at first I was completely out of a rhythm and I kept on thinking to myself, why on earth are you doing this? At about the 90-minute mark and slowly starting to feel more comfortable, I was swimming away, breathing to my left. The IRB support boat about 10 meters away from me, breathing to my left. I decide to breathe to my right. And what I saw completely shocked me. There, only a body length away, was a large shark cruising in the opposite direction. My instincts took over in that second and I swam as quick as I could to the IRB, splashing and flailing all over the place. I got back up on the boat deck and I asked the team, "Did you guys see that?" They said they hadn't seen anything at all. After a 20-minute pause and with no further shark sightings, I was back in the water. We were restarting that day's swim. After another 90 minutes, having vomited half a dozen times, filled with nausea and emotion, I was pulled out of the water. We were on our way back to the campground. 3 hours in, 10 kilometres down, only 1,400 or so kilometres to go. This was going to be a long 3 months. But to understand how I ended up there, I think I need to take you back for a second. So growing up, like a lot of Kiwi kids, I was exposed to the ocean at an early age. Every other Sunday over summer, me and my 3 brothers, my parents and our dog, we would pile in a car and we would go out to one of the local West Coast beaches to get dumped by the waves. And every summer break we would go up north or down to the Coromandel or over to Great Barrier Island to spend a week or 2 near the ocean, doing all kinds of activities above and below the water. It was at this early age that I developed this really deep connection and appreciation for the ocean and for the life within it. But I want to make one thing clear up front. I was not a good swimmer. I did these learn to swim lessons for about 4 years or so before eventually I could convince my parents to stop and put my energy and focus into sports that I actually enjoyed. My favourite part of swimming lessons when I was younger was when it was all over and Mum would buy me a raspberry twist to reward me for my efforts. I stumbled into open water swimming later in life. I did my first open water swimming event when I was 21, this 3-kilometre ocean swim across Auckland's harbour. I made it 200 metres into it and I had a panic attack in the water. I almost threw in the towel then and there, but I kept on pushing forward and I made it to the end. And I had this real sense of possibility, like what else could I achieve? And so in following that curiosity, that led to 5 kilometres and then 10 kilometres, a marathon distance, and eventually taking on some of New Zealand's most iconic swims like Cook Strait and Fovo Strait. And in undertaking these long swims and in the training that was required, I was able to have some amazing and magical experiences out in the ocean. Swimming with sharks, dolphins, manta rays, stingrays, and next to these diving gannets in these huge workups. I also saw the decline that was driven by human impact. I'd seen the sediment in the water and I'd breathed it in. I'd seen the kina, the sea urchins wiping out the kelp on our reefs. I'd seen the lack of life. And I'd heard the stories of old, the stories of abundance and life that there used to be. And all of this really made me sad. I felt like I couldn't ignore this anymore. With everything that I had heard, with everything that I had seen, I felt like I needed to do something. It was time to weigh in. And so these two worlds collided, this passion for open water swimming and this love for the ocean. And this combination of passion and purpose was the genesis for Swim for the Ocean, this unprecedented journey swimming down the east coast of the North Island from North Cape all the way down to Wellington. But how on earth do you even pull something together like this? And is it even possible? You know, for 2 years, we ideated, we schemed, and we planned. And there were times when it felt like this project was most certainly destined for the grave, but only through willpower and belief in what it could achieve did we continue to move forward. And against all the odds, on January 5 at the beginning of this year, I walked into those waters of Waihī Beach and I didn't look back. The next 90 days would test me to my limits. I endured sunburn, nausea, lip ulcers, salt tongue, muscle pain, fatigue, shark encounters, jellyfish stings, and biting cold, all in just my togs, cap, goggles, and a pair of earplugs. I remember one day as we swam off the Tora coast in the Wairarapa, the winds whipped through the hills and the valleys at 30 knots an hour, chopping up the water. The bone-chilling cold of the water seeped through every part of me. I was constantly stung by these barbed wire jellyfish that just floated like landmines around me. All I could do was laugh at the absurdity of it all. This is not to mention either the logistical complexity of land and water operations as we traversed the Motu, navigating harsh terrain and intense storms that brought landslips and flooding, all of which would have been impossible were it not for the team around me. But we were never going to give up. It was always a case of how we could overcome the problems that we faced, not whether they were too big. It was not all challenges either. There were a lot of highlights. I was able to see literally every metre of the North Island's diverse and beautiful east coast. From the white silica sands of the far, far north to the sheer hills and rugged stony beaches of the Wairarapa. I was able to connect with the moana and the creatures that inhabit it, seeing all kinds of different things like sharks, dolphins, orcas, marlin, seals, and albatross, to name just a few. There would be times when we would be visited upon by these pods of dolphins that were hundreds strong. You could hear first the whistling in the water minutes before they came into view. As they would come closer, that noise would become so loud that you could hear the chatter above the water as well. And then they would come rushing in with this great energy, swimming under and around and next to me. Dolphins were revered as taniwha by the ancestors of this country, and they came and gave me energy when I needed it most. Experiences like this connect us with a really deep part of our being, and a part that I don't think that we fully understand. And of course, meeting the people of the East Coast communities who invited us into their homes, their maraes, their sharing quarters. People who have relied on the ocean as their kapatakai, their food cupboard for centuries. People who have drawn connection and knowledge from the moana for generations. We heard from these people the dramatic change in the ocean that they have seen in their lifetimes, and we heard from them that they want change. After 90 days, 468 hours, 1,370 kilometres and more than 1.4 million strokes, we completed what we had set out to do. Swimming the east coast of the North Island from North Cape down to Wellington and building a movement behind us as we went. Have a look.
Hey Jono, have a good one, mate.
What was that, mate?
Have a good one.
Then dived off and we started. That strong northerly, norwesterly wind still made it difficult for the first K&a-half or so. But even so, even with it being a bit difficult, I was just amped. I was really excited, just trying to feel the moment, be in the moment. Minister Potaka joined for a short period before we rounded the peninsula as well, which was a cool experience for me. And then seeing as we came around that point and turned the corner, there were a lot of people around there, just really feeling the energy of everybody that we could see, and you got the sense that was growing the closer that we got to Freiburg Beach as we went down through Oriental Parade, closer into the quay. More and more people walking down, really feeling their energy as I was going, and then eventually getting to the point where all of these Wellington swimmers jumped in the water, and they were wading in the water, and I could hear them before I could see them. They were very, very loud, and a bunch of people up there on the boardwalk behind them as well. And then about 50 metres from getting to the boardwalk from the lagoon, putting my head up, stopping and just seeing all of these people, it was crazy.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
What a cool ending to what has been an amazing adventure. Swimming into the lagoon, that was quite cool. I saw a big starfish on the floor beneath me, and then swam right over the top of a decent-sized eagle ray as well. And then finally making it onto the solid ground. Job done.
Thank you. I'm really proud of what we achieved out there over the course of those 90 days. This was always more than just a swim. I undertook this mission to draw people into the story of the ocean and to ignite Kiwis in the race for a healthy ocean. And I think that we achieved that. But there's more work to be done yet. The ocean isn't just something that we take from. It's something that we're connected to, that sustains our very life on this planet. And right now it's under pressure. We're taking too much and we're not giving enough back. It's easy to look at something like this and think that it's too big, that it's too complex, that it's somebody else's problem. But what I've learned from long distance swimming is that you don't try to solve the whole thing at once. You break it down into manageable chunks and each day keep moving forward, one stroke at a time. The ocean is the same. There's no single solution to fix the problems that we're seeing, but there are steps that we can take, practical steps. And the key is to start to act now, because the ocean can recover if we give it space. And we've seen that happen before. For so long, we've diminished the ocean as something that we extract from, but it can meet all of our needs and so much more if we look after it. I want to change the story. I want to be the first generation that says not, do you remember how good it used to be, but do you remember how bad it used to be? And that is possible, but it will take action and it will require sacrifice. And like any long journey, it starts in the same way, with a single step. Or in my case, a single stroke. Thank you.